Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. In this video I'm going to start building the night house and also the kiwi habitat. And this habitat is a little bit special because we are going to switch the day and night cycle in this night house so that the guests can watch this nocturnal animal in the most natural way possible. And I'm very excited to show you this and to teach you something about the kiwi. I'm Zemfira from Zemfira Games, and let's get started. So first things first, before we are going to talk about the night house or the kiwi itself, I firstly wanted to say a big thank you to everyone because this channel just reached its first 100 subscribers. And this is the reason why I wanted to say a short thank you to everyone who subscribed this early in my YouTube journey and within this journey of this channel, and to everyone who enjoyed my videos and liked and commented on them. You can basically call yourself the OGs of this channel, and I am very grateful for that. I've been doing YouTube videos for just a little bit over 2 months now, and I didn't expect to reach 100 subscribers that fast, and also the amount of views that I'm getting on my videos, and also just the comments, and also on Reddit the nice comments, and everyone who seems to love my content and the builds that I'm doing. I'm just very grateful for that. So I just wanted to say a quick thank you, and yeah. If you haven't seen the latest episode right before this one, which was still in the Leuchenzee Zoo, one of our other zoos, which I did right before the launch of the Oceania pack, I already had a little chit chat with you about what is coming next when the Oceania pack is released. And in case you haven't seen that, I'm just gonna quickly tell you something about this zoo and the future plans for the next videos that are coming up. So since the Oceania pack got announced, I of course thought about how to include the Oceania animals in my zoos and in my videos. And if you might know, we have 2 zoos, one of which is a desert zoo and the other one is our Leuchenzee Zoo, which is a tropical and semi-aquatic inspired zoo. So after I knew what animals we were getting, I quickly knew that I am not going to be able to include the animals within my other zoos. Because they would just not fit neither in a desert biome nor in the Leuchenzee Zoo because of its theme. Maybe the little blue penguin would have fitted inside the Leuchenzee Zoo, but the other animals just wouldn't fit. So I needed to think about a solution about how to make habitats for them or where to put their habitats. And I firstly thought about building another mini zoo similar to the desert wildlife park that we have or that we started after the arid animal pack got released. So I thought about doing a mini zoo, but it would have been honestly really similar to like maybe the Leuchenzee Zoo because of the biome maybe, and some animals would have been probably the same, or I just thought about also the fact that the Oceania pack is not the last DLC that we will be getting. So also thinking a little bit more ahead about what might be coming. For example, if Planet Zoo would get a new DLC with, for example, a Highland animal pack. they also wouldn't fit neither in the Desert Zoo nor the Red Sox Zoo or the new mini zoo about the Oceania animals that I did. So I would have needed to start a new zoo then again. And this wasn't quite practical, starting new zoos every time a new DLC is launched, because we would have way too many zoos, and I probably wouldn't be able to finish any of them. So I decided to start a bigger zoo, which is in a temperate biome, and that would be a city zoo. So we don't have like a one biome theme or one continent theme, and instead have more options about what animals we can add also throughout the whole palette of animals and biomes that we have within this game. And I also wanted to start a city zoo some time ago, or was thinking about doing something like this. So I decided to finally start a city zoo in a temperate biome where we could add technically every animal that is in the game. Or the DLCs that will be coming in the next months. So yeah, that is what is going on right now. And to tell you a little bit about the story of this zoo that we are starting here right now. So the Kiwi habitat and the night house are the very first buildings and habitats that I am building. So this zoo is called the Leuchenzee Zoo, which is located in the Netherlands. And a little bit about the backstory of this zoo is that this zoo was built in the 1800s, and it was basically built by a very rich man, and his name is Mr. Leuchenzee. So this man had like a very huge house and a lot of land, and he wanted to start a zoo. So he then started to build a very like a typical zoo for the time back then, which with these very like typical zoo animals like the lion and elephant and hippo and giraffe and everything like that. And the zoo was very, very like nice, and yeah, he basically started to expand, and it was a very famous zoo back then because he was also like very cautious about making it very nice for the animals, and not only to make it look nice for the guests. And because you might know that back then in the time, animals were not always kept in the best way. So he was already ahead of his time and made very nice habitats for the animals for the standards back then. And of course, at some point, Mr. Leuchenzee died just of old age, and the zoo would still expand and is still here in today's time. And of course, the zoo itself got expanded, and because it is quite a famous and very nice zoo, it is really big at the moment. So the people that basically expanded the zoo after Mr. Leuchensee's death, they also expanded the parts of the zoos, and still today we get new sections of the zoo. And this section that we are starting right now, because of the Oceania pack, is called Tiki Town. This is a fairly new section of the zoo, and as I said, it is called Tiki Town and is for the Oceania animals and also Australian animals in general. So that is basically the theme of this little section. And we are starting with the night house within Tiki Town, which will house the kiwi, the speckled flying fox, and At the end, there also is going to be the Egyptian fruit bed, because you can enter this night house from the Tiki Town section, and if you walk through it, you exit this building in the next section, which is going to be a rainforest section. And since the Egyptian fruit bed is a tropical and rainforest animal, this is basically the animal right before the exit of this night house. So that is basically the thought about it. And this building is also fairly new and relatively modern, but not like highly modern in a way that it wouldn't complement the very old buildings that we have in the old zoo part. So yeah, it's all very thought through about what is going on in the zoo and what we are building. And the building is, as I said, a night house, so we switched the day and night cycle within this building, so that the animals think basically that it is night and then will come out, even though for the guests it is still the daytime. So yeah, and to kind of keep the theme within this building, it is kept relatively dark also on the outside. And then we have these really nice wooden facade with the zigzags on the side and these panels on the front. And I also thought about these panels and the color of the wood, that it might resemble a little bit the feathers of a kiwi, and that it looks a little bit like the feathers of a kiwi, since it is housed inside here and is also the very first animal in here. Now talking about the kiwi itself, which was probably on most people's wish list for Planet Zoo, including me, and it might be also my favorite animal from this DLC, but it is honestly so hard to decide which I like the most, because they are all just incredibly cute and adorable. I feel like this might be the cutest DLC that we have when it comes to the animals, and I feel like a lot of people think the same way and feel the same way, because they are all just so small and the animations are all extremely cute. You might see some in the cinematics at the very end, and the models are also so incredible. I feel like with each pack in the latest time, the animals just get so much better. I mean, we know that most of the base game animals are very like cartoonish, and the textures are not that great when it comes to like fur, but on the kiwi and also the quokka, the textures are amazing, and it is so hard to decide which is the favorite one. I might change my opinion once I finished all of the habitats for the Oceania animals, but I think for now, even after I saw the animations and stuff like that from the kiwi, for now it is, I think, my favorite one. So the northern brown kiwi is the most common kiwi that we have, and it is around 40 centimeters big and weighs around 2 to 3 kilograms, but the females are normally a little bit bigger than the males. And also the kiwi holds the world record for laying the biggest egg compared to its body size. The kiwi is generally a solitary animal and only spends time with its mate during the breeding season, and they also normally choose a mate for lifetime, although it has been seen that females almost divorce from their male if they find a more suiting male for their desires. The kiwi is also pretty territorial, and they also might fight with each other, and it is, as I said, a nocturnal animal and normally spends their daytime hiding in its burrow. To communicate with each other, they have a variety of different sounds like snorts, hisses, and grunts, and their most common sound is a kiwi sound, and this is also where this animal got its name from. It is a carnivorous animal and feeds on a variety of different insects, but also crayfish, amphibians, and eels, and it sometimes also feeds on fruits and berries. The kiwi pairs may produce 2 to 3 clutches per year, and the female lays 2 eggs and then the male incubates them for 75 to 90 days. The baby kiwis or the chicks already start to leave the nest within 1 week, and after 4 weeks they are independent and can feed themselves. The biggest threat for the northern brown kiwi is habitat loss and also mammalian predators like cats and dogs, especially in areas where the mammalian predator pest is not controlled, and therefore only around 5% of all kiwi chicks reach adulthood. The population is currently stable, but they are considered vulnerable. Kiwis cannot fly because they have heavy bones that are filled with marrow, and they also have a small claw at the end of their wing. And lastly, the kiwi, or better say the northern brown kiwi, is the only kiwi species that is held internationally in zoos. As you might know, I try to make my habitats as realistic as possible, and I try to follow the husbandry guidelines for zoos as close as possible. So therefore I made sure to only have a maximum of 2 adults in one habitat and that they have at least 50 square meters of space. It is also considered to have at least 1 nest box per bird in this habitat. You will see me placing those wooden nesting boxes that I made myself, and they are also uploaded on the Steam Workshop with another few different kind of nesting boxes. They should have a very deep soil in their habitat so that they can probe into the soil to find their food, and it is also a very natural behavior for them, as you might see them always probing and sticking their beak into the soil. They also have their nostrils on the end or at the tip of their beak, and not at the very beginning as most birds have them. So it helps them to find their food and their prey rather by smelling than by seeing. And the soil should be covered with leaf litter, so I use a lot of these leaf litter patches that we got with the Twilight pack, I believe, but I might be wrong. And the barrier should be made out of a solid material, for example glass, and not of a mesh material or some sort of fencing, because the kiwi could stick its beak through the mesh and possibly hurt itself, so it should rather be considered to have glass or another solid material as a fencing. And if the kiwi has an outdoor and indoor area, the indoor area should be kept at temperatures around 15 to 20 degrees. So since my zoo is located in a temperate biome, and for the most part of the year it is relatively cold, so the kiwi should be kept for the most part of the year indoors anyways. And since the kiwi is also nocturnal, the guests most likely wouldn't see the kiwi outside at the daytime when the guests usually visit a zoo in an outside habitat. So that's why I decided to have the kiwi all year round in a indoor area or a indoor habitat, and to have them in a night house where we switched the day and night cycle for the animals, so that the guests can see the kiwi at the daytime, but the kiwi will think that it is night, and then it will come out and the guests can see them in a very natural behavior. In this habitat, I also raised the ground level a little bit so that the kiwi has a deep enough soil to probe into, and that the guests also have an almost at eye level view on the kiwi. I also use the rock walls by Caesar Creates that are made out of stalactites, I believe, or stalagmites. I can't remember which way they are called. And used plants on top of them to kind of decorate the wall so it is not too naked and to give it a natural look, and to not place too much foliage on the ground because the habitat is not ginormous, and so that the kiwi has still a lot of space to move around and the habitat can still look very lush and green. I also tried to use as many of the newest Oceania pack plants that we got, and also some of the free update plants, because they are just a very nice model and they are just perfect for the biome and the like general look of a very natural habitat for the kiwi. So I try to use a lot of them, but of course I also use some older foliage, and I also decorated the rock walls with some of these roots and also these hanging moss pieces to give it a beautiful look and natural look. Also, since I raised the ground level of this habitat, I had this little gap at the side of the wall, because on the other side of the wall there is a walk-through habitat or exhibit where the spectral flying fox will be housed, and so I couldn't raise the ground level too close to the habitat. And since we already had this little gap, I decided to add this little and very shallow water feature. And I firstly wanted to make it a little bit like a waterfall on the side for the animals, but the like water sprinkler thingies that we have are just too big for the size of habitat that we have here. So I instead used a little enrichment item that sprays some water at the very beginning of the like little water area, and at the very end I of course placed a vent so that the water could flow into there and then be reused for this little water section that we have. And I also built a little backstage area. I might rework this little backstage area for the birds. I mean, we are already in a very small and indoor located area, so I don't believe it if it would be necessary to have one of these little backstage areas, but I think it couldn't be wrong to have a little area for the kiwi to completely retreat itself, and where the kiwi could technically be like kept in when there is maintenance inside of the habitat, or if maybe one of them is hurt, and so they can be held in a little smaller area where there's also a little nesting box just as we have inside the habitat, and where the staff had a really easy and nice access onto the animals. And then I of course made sure to close the whole wall up so that is all nice and dark, and we will have a little backstage area for all of the animals that we have in this night house in the very back of the building, as you can see here. And if it would possibly be a little bit more lit up so that the staff can actually see something, so the light shouldn't disturb the animals in its like a night time. So I made sure to close everything up later, and then there is a double door entryway for the staff so that the kiwis also cannot escape out of the habitat when the staff enters the habitat basically. And also for behind the little water feature, I made sure to decorate it very nicely And what I forgot to say is that for like nocturnal animals and like night houses, blue light is considered the best for these type of habitats, even over red light, because it kind of resembles the moonlight that there is, and it is also like less like disturbing for the animals. And so I use these little like LED lights that I turned blue, but I also place like normal lights that would lit up on the nighttime when the kiwi basically should think that it is daytime, and also to make sure that the plants inside of this habitat get some UV rays, also because they would simply die if they wouldn't get any. And then lastly, I also included a little sprinkler system so that it could rain within this habitat. And we are almost at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you could learn a lot from me about how to keep kiwis in zoos. Don't forget to like and leave a comment, and if you want to see the next episode where we will be continuing the night house, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And also the night house will be uploaded to the theme workshop once we have it completely finished, so stay tuned for that one. Now enjoy the cinematics and the end, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, bye guys!